Okay, so welcome and thank you for watching the very first Whiskey and Cynicism video. This is a new medium for me, and I'm excited to see how I can manage to fuck it up. Joining me today is the lovely Stef Anderson from Devil's Advocate, fantastic whiskey bar and restaurant here in Edinburgh. She's just going to have a quick chat, and we're going to just find out what, if Stef had 3 whiskeys to drink for the rest of her life, what they would be. So, hello Stef and welcome. What are you drinking today?
I've got 2 drinks. It's warm, so I've got a Johnny Highball, and then I'm drinking the Macallan Classic Cup.
Oh, very nice.
2019, that can come up. There we go. Picked
Nice.
up when I was at the distillery a couple of weeks ago. So, well, a couple of months ago now.
Well, I'm on a highball as well, actually, which is on Nika Clear, which is 37% ABV, so it's practically a white wine spritzer.
We'll see.
So, I mean, I think we've both got a bit of an affinity with the west coast of Scotland. I lived up there for a long time. You obviously grew up in that part of the world. You won the Talisker Race to Skye competition. You and I were on Isla almost this time last year for Fay Shield.
Yeah.
And you grew up near Oban, which is obviously another distillery and a very beautiful scenery. Do you think that Scotch whisky, the romanticism around it, do you think there's an inherent link to the scenery and the kind of remoteness of the distilleries?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of people's perspective of Scotch whisky, like you compare it to something like Japanese whiskey, it's all about craft and like that's their focus. I feel like for Scotch whisky, it's all about the story, it's all about the romanticism, the history, and especially when you've got like beautiful islands and, you know, hills and Munros and all that kind of stuff. Like it does add to the image around the brands. It's not just about the liquid, it's about the story.
It is funny. I think that if you look at most of the cult whiskies that are respected around the world, they tend to be far-flung, such as Talisker, such as, I mean, even the likes of Clynelish and I mean, Macallan even, you know, and then the ones in the lowlands that are quite accessible, it almost feels like people are cheating because they're almost too easy to get to. Do you think that's fair?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, people, it's almost like they want the effort to achieve the dram. Like they want to have to like travel on a train for 3 hours or go, you know, walk in the rain or whatever. Like I feel like, yeah, like places like Auchentoshan and Glenkinchie kind of get stifled a bit by the fact that they're, you know, just on our doorstep.
Yeah, it's not quite the same, the image of drinking a dram on the outskirts of Glasgow as it is up by the Old Manor store, is it?
No.
So I guess with that, and obviously the effort that goes into Scotch whisky and some of the appreciation or the finding of it, for young people, especially coming into the hospitality industry or bartending or that kind of thing, what do you think makes, as well as, you know, those mixed drinks is the biggest thing, bigger than it's ever been. You've got gin's a huge category, rum, craft beer, new wines. There's so much going on. I mean, for those coming into the industry, why do you think that Scotch whisky in particular is such a rewarding thing to find an interest and a passion for?
I think there's just so much. It's such a big category. Like, there's every distillery has their own unique thing, which is fantastic. Whether it's their still, their line arm, you know, where they get their barley from, how they're produced, you know, the story behind it. I think there's so much knowledge that you can, especially if you're building a career, you can take the time to focus on it and really invest and know that it's going to be a long-term thing. It's not just, you know, a quick minute. Like, for example, I know it takes obviously years to learn cocktails. Like I'm still learning about whiskey, but I feel like whiskey will continue for a lot longer and you can build a career in it. And I feel like we want young people in the whiskey industry now. Like it's almost like we're crying out for them. We want to get rid of that image of kind of the, you know, smoking chair, you know, brandy glass thing. We want people to drink Scotch, so I think it's a really cool and interesting time to get into it. Like they want people's feedback. We don't want this industry to die, so we need up and comers to tell us how to make it better.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I think we need fresh blood in the industry all the time to stop that image that once was, and then becoming stagnant again, even in a new image. So I think we need to have constant evolution.
Yeah, you know, like at the moment, obviously it's the last kind of maybe 5-10 years have all been about putting whiskey in cocktails, which has been fantastic, and we're slowly getting more people drinking like that. But how do we then go to the next level, like get people to drink in their houses with, you know, mixers and stuff like that, you know, making it more accessible to, it's not just a special occasion thing.
I mean, I think it's probably fair to say that if you and I were doing this 5 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting here with highballs.
Absolutely not.
So I guess following on from that, we all have amazing experiences in whiskey, and as you say, it's not just about the liquid. There's a whole thing surrounding it, and sometimes I have moments when as I'm sure you do, where you sit and you think, I'm here because of whiskey, and that's quite something. Do you have a kind of favorite moment where you've had to reflect and almost wonder at the silliness of being in an amazing position due to whiskey?
Yes, yeah. I mean, especially like the Macallan trip we went on before quarantine. You know, you're kind of sitting there. We were in I mean, thank you so much to obviously Jamie and Teddy for organising it, but we were sitting in the distillery with a private chef, having dinner, drinking like some very old and rare Macallans, and you're just thinking, how did I get here? Like, how have I been chosen for this such unique occasion? Like, almost not the kind of I don't deserve it, but the whiskey industry has these such unique and interesting moments. Like, I mean, for us on Isla, like, it's crazy. Like, you find there's a guy who goes about with a massive flasher jacket, you might have seen him, but he like has just like hundreds of drams. And I was with Georgie Crawford, and he was sharing a dram and let me have it, and it was like a 1964 Bowmore, like it was the Black Barrel, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But yeah, I think
there is a generosity shared amongst whiskey lovers as well, that, you know, I mean, aside from that kind of small part of the flippers and the collection and all that kind of thing, I think that around those who enjoy it, there's not kind of, do you deserve to drink this or anything. It's just, you will enjoy this. So whether it is a 64 Black Barrel or a shot of Johnny Walker in a bar on a Saturday night, you know, and anything in between, I think there's a kind of fraternal thing there that means that nothing's too sacred in a way, which I think is the way it should be.
I think we kind of maybe lost that for, like, especially when I was kind of starting. I started mainly coming into the West, like interest in whiskey probably about 5 years ago, and there was that kind of more interest in flipping bottles and making money out of stuff. And I think hopefully through young generations coming in that we'll see people sharing drams a lot more. I've seen, like, I mean, you've obviously seen McCann, like from Scotch, the Balmoral, that he's been doing dram drops, and that's slowly becoming a bigger thing. You know, Smiley through life doing it, like opening a bottle and sharing it with a mate and being do it over Zoom and not worrying about it, like having, you know, I'm sure you've had it before with, you've opened a bottle with a mate and gone, no, like we shouldn't be opening this. You're like, why not? You know, It's all about the drinking it. At the end of the day, that's what you make it for.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's a few bottles here, and then none of them are closed. You know, there's no point in that for me. They're there to be drunk and there to be enjoyed. And I'm kind of glad that that side of things. So I saw it written down that today, actually, someone said that having a bottle from a closed distillery and not opening it is like being able to see the light from a dying star and keeping the curtains closed.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It was actually a Facebook comment on actually Mark Davidson, who runs the Edinburgh shop for Royal Mile. It was on his Facebook, Jolly Toper Tastings. I just thought, what a wonderful way of putting it. You know, a closed bottle's a waste.
It's so true. And like, I understand, you know, about people buying them to keep them for selling and all that kind of stuff. We also need that part of the industry. But I think if you enjoy drinking whiskey, you should look at opening bottles. You should be drinking the liquid.
Absolutely. And on drinking whiskey, if you had 3 that you had to take to a desert island and be stuck with for the rest of your life, what would be the first one?
So I told my flatmate this morning, and she made the good point. She was like, I don't know in this weather thinking about a desert island, if that's the first thing I would think of as whiskey. But my 3, and I have one that's an Irish, but I can switch it in for a Scottish if you'd rather.
Not at all. No, we're here to talk about whiskey.
Okay, that's fine. So Lagavulin 16, hands down, everyday drinking whiskey is my favourite thing on the planet. And especially if I'm on a desert island, I'm assuming I'm going to have to build a bonfire. So I would imagine sitting next to a bonfire drinking Lagavulin. Something bougie, I've gone with a Glenesk 12. Pine fresh and just like, kind of a bit cheeky and a bit, you know, special. And then Irish, I've gone with Method of Madness, their French chestnut. We've got a bottle of it in Devils, and I remember Connor, the last bar manager before me, giving me a dram, and just thinking this was fantastic and kind of helped me fall in love with Irish whiskey a lot more. Tasting that, yeah, it's just phenomenal.
Interesting you say Irish whiskey, actually. I mean, I've got a bottle of Bushmills aged in acacia wood, and that I picked up at the distillery last year. And also there's the Yellow Spot, which has a Malaga cask influence, which I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think can be used for Scotch whisky because it's not traditional. And I think the Irish distillers do have that quite lovely freedom to use more interesting woods. I've not had the chestnut, but I can imagine it's very, very interesting for the point of difference that it would be.
Yeah, it's kind of rich and creamy and sweet, but with it being obviously pot still, there's like a weird uniqueness that, yeah, I don't think you could ever see a lot of in Scotch, at least. But yeah, I mean that's kind of bougie as well, but it's definitely Island.
It's good three balanced choices, and I can't help but agree. But look, Steph, I won't take up any more of your time. We're obviously all very busy doing hee-haw in this lockdown. So, but thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us and
thank you very much.
Of the inaugural Whiskey and Citizen Desert Island Drams. Slange.
Yeah, you're Slange.